Hi, I'm Josh Laurent. I currently play for Reading FC and have played for Wigan, Shrewsbury, Hartlepool, Brentford, and QPR.
So let's start with this season, Josh. Being a big one for you with Reading, how have you settled into the Championship?
I like to think quite well. Um, it's been something I've looked forward to for a while. I've been trying to get into this league and obviously playing this league. As a player, you want to play in the highest league possible. And I've been in League One for a few seasons before this, so getting into the Championship was a big step for me. So when I had the chance to play in this season with Reading, I really relished it, and I think I made a step up quite well and look forward to it.
So when we talk about sort of big seasons and how the season's been, obviously we've had COVID, no fans, etc. How much has that impacted you joining the club? Because being a new player at a club, you want to get in front of the fans quite early, so it's quite difficult to develop a bit of I guess I don't know, a relationship with them.
Yeah, of course. The first thing you want to do, you want to make an impression at a club when you come into a club, and that's with your coaching staff, your teammates, everyone that works in the club, and then obviously the fans. It's all a collective. You don't really get a second chance to make a first impression. So it was difficult, but our fans are good. They support us very well and they get behind us. So it wasn't that hard in the end. But yeah, it was a bit different, and I have missed having fans in the ground a lot.
How much do they help? Because again, being a supporter myself, you can almost say, does it really impact teams and games? But if a game's close, for example, or if you're being bombarded in the last 10 minutes, do the fans really help in that scenario?
100%. I think we missed them personally. I think we missed them towards the end of the season. Last sort of 8-10 games when we were really pushing to get into the playoffs. We need that little
Mm.
extra 5-10% to just fall into the top six. I think they would have been important for us, especially at home. And I'm sure they'll follow us away as well. But in big games, when we're chasing games, when we needed the goal or when we need to hold on to games, just to give us the extra push and the extra support, it does give you a kick. Whether to hold on to a lead or whether you're there and you're chasing a goal, it gives you an extra kick to go and chase it.
Mm.
And also, I feel it does have an effect on other teams. It makes them a bit more nervous. I've been there when you're 1-0 up away at ground and the home team's pushing and the fans are really getting behind them. And you can feel the energy. You can feel like the other team got a buzz. So it's not easy to deal with. So I think it has been missed a lot, especially for us towards the end.
I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing, as they say. Would they have helped Reading get over the line into the playoffs? Do you think? Would it have been that extra boost that the team needed at such a pivotal time in the season?
Uh, I'd say, yeah, I think so. I think towards the end, we sort of ran out of steam a little bit. I think we were running hard as a team and as individuals and as players, but maybe lacked a little bit of a burst, if that makes sense, a little bit of intensity. And I think fans do give you that. It gives you a lift, that adrenaline, that speed in your heart rate to go and really push and get there first to a ball and really push. So I do think it does make a difference, and the fans can be the difference in that little 5% that you need. I think that's what we missed out on. We missed an extra 5% towards the end, and sometimes that can come from an individual and a player or someone around the training ground or something like the fans. I think we had it. We got a lot out of each other throughout the season. We just didn't have it from the fans.
Mm.
No fault of their own, just weird circumstances.
So going on to yourself and this season, did you expect to win player of the season? It's quite a strange question, but obviously your form has been pretty consistent all the way through. And with Reading this season, you've had some players like Lucas Shaw and Michael Elise have just been unreal. So coming to the end of the season, was it something that you thought you'd be in line of, or was it just a really nice surprise?
No, I was surprised, to be honest. Like you said, we've got a lot of good players in our squad. I mean, Ovi is a very talented footballer. John Swift, I think, is unbelievable, who missed heavily this year. But as you say, Lucas Shaw and Michael have been unbelievable throughout. Lucas, we can't count how many times he's carried us over the line this year and won us games, and the same with Michael as well. So it was a big surprise and something that was a big honour to me, and I'm very proud of and very grateful to the fans and the club for.
Do you think attackers get too much credit? Are you happy to fly the flag for the more defensively minded players?
No, I don't think they get too much credit. I think one of the hardest jobs in football is to score goals. For one of the hardest things to do. So I don't think they get too much credit. But it is nice for us defenders, more defence-minded players who have their back to get a bit of credit sometimes.
So going back to the season overall, we talked about sort of getting over the line for Reading. 7th place it's a good finish, but are you happy with how it went in general? Because the party line with Reading in previous season has been replace the manager after a few games, struggle for the rest of the season. But really what they've shown is that they've got a bit of grit, they've got quality in the team. So is a 7th place finish not a success, but a step to building something?
Definitely think it's a step in the right direction. The boys spoke to me about previous seasons, and had said this is different for us. With last 2 or 3 seasons, we've been sort of fighting relegation. So to be in this position where we sort of had 6 games to go and was fighting to stay in the top 6, they were like, look, we're not usually in this position, so let's register this and go for it. So I do think it's a definite step in the right direction and a positive step. Disappointing, very disappointing. I think we fell short of our target and probably fell short of what we should have achieved, but had no right to really achieve it, to be honest. And you just hope that next season we can do it again, but hopefully go a step or 2 further. We've got to stay there now. We can't just, it's all good doing it for 1 year. Like, you've got to keep doing it until you reach your target.
So it's even more impressive, I think, from a neutral perspective, finishing 7th, given how unsettled the pre-season was. Obviously, before a ball was kicked, Mark Bowen brought you in. He described you as a young, hungry, vibrant, energetic midfielder, but left a month later. So I think the first question is, was that disappointing for you on a personal level? And the second question is, how did that impact your thought process on playing games? Because we've seen managers bring players in and then they go, and the players can think, oh, I'm not going to get in now.
Yeah, it was strange for me because obviously Mark had brought me in, told me what he expected from me, from his players, from his team, what he wanted, how he wanted to play, how he was going to set up. He spoke to me for on and off for virtually half a year, so I knew exactly what he wanted from me and what to do. And then for him to go so after 2-3 weeks was a big shock, and it did leave me in a weird place. I didn't know whether the new manager could come in and not like me. He could have easily thought, well, he's from League One. He hasn't played there. He's inexperienced at this level. He might have went a different direction, or there was a point. I'll be honest. I thought to myself, new manager comes in, he might not know me or know enough about me or like me. I could be out on loan again within a month or 2. So there was a lot of unexpectancy, but in the first sort of few days. But when a new manager came in, to be fair, you just get your head down and had to just get on with it and trust him, really, and that's exactly what I did.
What did you guys make of the Paunovic appointment? Just from an outsider's point of view, we thought we were skeptical just because his previous experience was in the MLS, but he's turned out to be a very good manager, and some of the football played counter-attacking, it was brilliant, and he's got the best out of Lucas Shaw and yourself as well. So, yeah, what were the outside thoughts on Paunovic when he came in?
Honestly, when everything was first going on, no one really knew what was happening. We heard a few sort of whispers that Mark could be going, as you do at football clubs, and no one really knew who the boss was when he was being linked or when he came in. And we had to fly out to Portugal to meet him because he couldn't come straight to the country because otherwise,
of course, yeah,
quarantine. So we had to meet him sort of in a country where we could all sort of get together and train. So we had to go to Portugal. He done a lot to go to Portugal as well. Fair play to him. So no one knew what to expect really, and even after, it takes a while to get to know a manager and for him to know us. We didn't know really to expect even after the first day or 2. But as you say, he turned out to be unbelievable and probably like no one knows what Mark could have done. I'm sure he would have done really well, but the boss has been fantastic. And I think with everyone individually and as a team, he's brought us all together. He's got us all going in the right direction. And as you say, he's got the best out of players. I mean, not Lucas and myself, Michael, Omar Richards, Tom McIntyre, Tom Holmes. He's got a lot of youngsters in there who's got the best out of. And I think that's down to him. It's down to the trust that he puts in his players and the belief he puts into us. So we didn't know a lot about him, but I think everyone knows enough about him now to know how good he is as a manager.
Did he change much? Because obviously with Mark Bowen, he was really setting the foundations for the club, and I think we initially were skeptical of his appointment when Mark Bowen was first appointed, but he sort of changed our minds a little bit and stabilised Reading. So did Veljko Paunovic change a lot when he came in, or is it just a case of let's just keep going with the formula that we've got?
Not so much changing, it was more sort of doing his things. You know, as you say, Mark had his foundations and what he wanted to do. The boss sort of come in and has his own sort of style and his sort of way and what he wanted. And so I don't think it was changed. At the end of the day, the end goal was the same. It was just how we got there was a little bit different, a little bit tweaked, just because, you know, two different managers have two different styles and cultures, what they want to do. So it wasn't a massive change, but yeah, there was some changes that he had to make just to be the star and to suit the way how he wanted us to be every day in and out of the place. So yeah, I mean, it was adjusting to. We had a lot of meetings to start off with. He knew he was giving us a lot of information, but he didn't have a lot of time to give it to us because, you know, he probably only had 2-3 weeks. So it was sort of learning. He was learning us, and we were learning him sort of on the job. Really, we were starting the season, you know, 2-3 games in, still having loads of meetings to sort of teach each other about ourselves and what he expected from us and what we would expect from him and his coaching style. So we were learning on the job and sort of growing together throughout the season. And I think it showed. I think we started off our house on fire, and we sort of broke down a little bit. And that's why I had to regroup. But then we got better and better each game goes. So I think it shows. So yeah, you don't have to change a lot, but obviously you have to change things to do it his way.
I find that quite incredible, that the fact that you weren't, you know, properly sort of I don't know what the word is. It wasn't as cohesive at the start. It's probably the wrong choice of words. You were still getting to know each other essentially, and the fact that you started the season the way you did, 9 games unbeaten, 8 wins in that 9 games, I find that absolutely incredible. So I guess, how did, you know, what were the words to inspire that sort of run? Because as you say, you were still having meetings trying to get to know each other and get the best out of each other. I
think a lot comes down to him. You know, his desire, his passion for the game, his levels and commitment of wanting to win. I mean, he had ideas that seemed crazy, I'll be honest, at the time, that would work in games. A lot of commitment, desire, and want to win, and passion and togetherness were sort of key words that he come in today, every day of training with a huge commitment and a huge enthusiasm that spread around the place. And he'd admit it himself. He'd say to us, look, I'm crazy. And he really was, but it was a good crazy. It was a crazy that spread around the place and got us together real quick and got us fighting for each other very early. And I think that's what pushed us to go on that run of games. It came from him. It came from his desire and his want to win and his passion and the urgency he had every day. So a lot of it does come down to him and his coaching staff.
Does it shift expectations at all? Because, as I say, that incredible run left you top of the table. As a supporter, it's natural for us, it's natural for us to say, hang on a minute, we're onto something here. So does that change expectations on the pitch, or is it just a case of the party line of it's one game at a time sort of thing?
No, of course it changes expectation. When you go 8 games unbeaten, winning 7 and drawing 1, I think we only conceded 2 goals as well. You know, it changed the expectation of what you expect from each other. We set the bar high. So what we expected from each other and each game, what we wanted, it did change. I mean, boys would say, after 8 games, no one knew what could happen. we'd fighting relegations 3 seasons in a row. We'd changed manager 2-3 weeks before the start of the season. It could have been anything, but as I say, the manager came in and was fantastic from day one and pushed us towards it. So yeah, it did change expectation. And at the same time, though, we did have to take it game by game. We knew it was a long season. We hadn't done anything at all yet. And as I say, we were always going to come with ups and downs. It depended how we dealt with them. And I thought overall we dealt with them quite well and just fell short towards the end.
Was there an element of luck in those first 10 games? My co-host thinks there was, but I'm very much on the line of you make your own luck. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I think people say we were lucky to go through that run at the start of the season. I don't think so. I think it's not luck to go 8 games unbeaten and win 7 out of the 8. That's not luck. We worked hard for those results, and we were ruthless in front of goal as well. The form of our attackers in front of goal at that stage of the season, it was frightening. And again, like I say, it comes from no one else but the boss. The boss coming in demanding that every day. So yeah, I don't think it was luck at all. I think we've got good players, players that could arguably people say could play higher than this level. So I don't think it was luck at all. I think it was a lot of hard work that went into those games, a lot of sweat that went into them games, and we deserved our 8 games that we went unbeaten. And if we were a bit lucky, we deserved that as well.
I guess there's always an element of luck in football, but talking about sort of how the season panned out, it sort of seemed how injuries just started to creep up, and I guess every team was suffering from it. Obviously, Lucas Shaw, I mean, he dislocated his shoulder, didn't he? And he was back within a week, which is just incredible.
Yeah, Lucas, no one would have thought would have been back after a week, either the way he was screaming on the pitch, but he was. I mean, we had a lot of injuries this season. Swifty missed out virtually the whole season. Swifty missed 3/4 of the season, and I think he was a big miss. Yak missed probably half the season. Lucas missed a big chunk of games 2 or 3 times. I mean, he dislocated his shoulder twice, pulled his hamstring. I mean, Liam was playing with half a foot for 10 games, getting injections every week. Morrow's been injured. We've had loads of injuries throughout the squad. Players have been injured. Young players had to step up. Yeah, I mean, every squad gets injuries, but I think our squad got hit hardest. I'd like to say last year with the injuries, and we haven't got a huge squad either. Didn't sign many players, so when someone did get injured, I think the squad did feel it.
I think it's quite remarkable considering the amount of injuries that popped up, that both yourself and Andy Rinomhota were incredibly consistent in the amount of games you played.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to play every single one. I think I missed one in the end, and I think we just fed off each other really well. To be honest, the energy of. I used to always say to the boys that when I see Andy running around the pitch 10 minutes in and smashing into someone or putting in a big tackle, it'd give me a buzz. I want to do the same thing, but I didn't want to let him down. So, and I'd hope that he looked across at me and think the same thing. So, yeah, he's a very reliable character, Andy, and I think that spreads across the team, and it definitely spread to me, and it helped me out, and I hope I helped him out a lot this season as well.
I think you two had one of the more sort of under the radar partnerships, because 2 defensively minded midfielders don't necessarily get the plaudits that 2 strikers or a winger and a striker would. So how important is your partnership with Andy Rinomhota been this season? Just because, as I say, that those 2 pivots in the middle have been key for Reading this season.
Yeah, I think it was big for the team. I think as I say, we've got a lot of ability in our squad going forward, and I think us 2 sitting in there really allowed our front 4 to go and attack teams and express themselves, knowing that they had us 2 behind them that would do anything to protect our back 4 and help them go on and do what they're good at. And not only that, we had attacking fullbacks in Andy Erdem, Omar Richards, Tom Hearns when he played there as well. He used to get forward. Tom Sestevez, we had attacking fullbacks. So I think me and Andy was important base for the team, and I think everyone knew that and would speak about us at the club and say how important we were. And the manager brought me in the day before the Derby game, first game of the season, and he said to me then what he expected from me and Andy. and he said how important it would be for the squad. And he told me after 45 minutes in the Derby game that I would smile because what he said to me would be true. And he said that I'd see it in every single game this season. And he was right. He saw it early. And he let us grow with each other from early. And it was nice that he put his trust in us.
So moving on to you joining from Shrewsbury, when we spoke to Mark Bowen, he said it was the game against Liverpool that prompted him to get you signed up. Were you aware you were being looked at by Championship clubs at that point? I know you said earlier that he was speaking to you for six months or so.
Yeah, I was. There was sort of rumours going around, and like my agent, who's my dad, had a few contacts, a few calls sort of before the window, that a few clubs were looking at me and interested, just asking what the situation was. And Mark did ring sort of early on in Jan and said that he was interested, and that there was a big interest there, and that he's watching, and that we might be able to get something over the line. But nothing's ever done until it's done. And I do think that Liverpool game was a big game for me. I knew it was a big game for me. I was sort of going into that game knowing that there was a lot of clubs watching me. This is a high profile game, and I sort of just rose to the occasion really, and I saw it as a chance to get an opportunity to get to where I wanted to be, and I took it, and I'm happy it stuck in Mark's mind. And he contacted me straight after the game saying, "Oh, well, I played." So yeah, it was a big game for me, that Liverpool game, and I'm happy. I'm very fortunate that Mark was there to pursue me.
Were you surprised by the interest from Reading? It's always interesting to get the take from a sort of a lower league mentality on it, because I imagine a big club like Reading going down to Shrewsbury, we don't see it as often as we have done in the past. You look at the stereotypical ones, Jamie Vardy going to Leicester. Were you surprised that they were looking at talent in the lower leagues?
Surprised, no. I think clubs do look at the lower leagues, whether they take the gamble or not, or to actually do it is a different story. But I do think a lot of clubs do look down there. I just don't know if they take the gamble to do it. So I wasn't surprised they were there looking, but I was surprised when Reading were interested, because I just sort of, as you say, it's a big club. I never had heard anything about it before in recent years or months. So it sort of just came out of the blue, really. I remember I was sitting at home one day by myself, and I just remember something popped up on my Twitter. Someone tagged me in something. It was Mark speaking about me, and I had no idea. And I remember ringing up my dad and told my dad, "Have you seen this?" And as I was on the phone to my dad, someone from Reading rang him. So he put down the phone. I remember that clearly. And from there, really, Mark always kept in contact. And a real nice guy, Mark. And as I say, I'm happy he pursued me.
How does the pre-contract situation work? 'Cause obviously, your deal was running out towards the end of the season. Reading had spoken to you. Does anything get signed before the end of your contract, or is it a case of it's all verbal until you're actually on the Reading desk signing the contract?
To be fair, nothing had been agreed at all. It was just contacts, really, to see like whether a deal could be done, or what might be asking to see what my situation is or what's happening. Just for them to get more information about me, but nothing had been done. And to be honest, I had a little panic up, because obviously the pandemic hit, the season finished for League One and League Two, and then I was clubless basically. A lot of interest, it went quiet for a long time. I didn't hear from anyone. And the only person that did come back to talk to me was Mark. In the end, there was a few, one or two that came, but not as interested as Mark was. So yeah, nothing had been agreed before, sort of verbally or any pre-contracts. Because as I say, at one point I was worried about what was happening, because phone weren't ringing, and yeah, I was very grateful in the end when the window opened. I was free. I'd finished at Shrewsbury. Mark had contacted me again, and it got sorted out very quickly.
How much of a jump has it been for you, obviously, sort of competing in League One to competing at the top end of the Championship? Just What's the difference in terms of just style, physicality? What is the difference in stepping up?
I think you have to be switched on for 90 minutes. The minute you could be switched off, there's a big chance you could be punished, whether it's someone running off you or losing the ball or losing your man. Just you have to be switched on for 90 minutes. And as you say, I think physically it's very demanding. There's a lot of games this season, Saturday, Wednesday. It felt like every other sleep that there was a game. It was physically very demanding. And it wasn't like to say there was a game that sort of came off it physically, which is what amazed me. Every single game, no matter when it was, you had to be at top condition to perform and run your hardest, because if you didn't, as I say, you'd get exposed, you'd get hurt, because the other team are willing to do that. So it's a very tough, challenging league, and there is a step up between the lower leagues, and it is noticeable because, as you say, I don't think you get many Lucas Giles in the lower league doing what he does. So it is a big step up, and you do get a higher caliber of players. So it was I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed every game, and I feel like I took to it quite well.
So you mentioned that you were contractless essentially. Obviously, the deal ran out with Shrewsbury. The season was curtailed quite early for League One. How did you stay fit? Obviously, you're going into. You mentioned that the need to step up and just be physically and mentally on it all the time. How did you? What preparations did you make in that free time you had before joining Reading?
I was quite fortunate, to be fair. People at Shrewsbury are good people. The manager, everyone that worked at the place is very good people. So they were contacting me, sending me sort of a fitness program to do every day, where I might have been a little bit more weak from my body. They'll give me exercises to do, telling me what runs to do. So I was quite fortunate in that part that I had a club that were, so good to me. But then on the other hand as well, when my contract did run out at Shrewsbury, and the deal did get close to Reading, the first person to contact me after Mark was Josh Bowen, who is the sports science at the club, who deals in all that fitness side. He contacted me very early and gave me another program to do to try and get me up to speed. So I was quite fortunate that both sets of club have good people that look out for their players, and as I say, we had the good people at Shrewsbury looking out for me, and Josh, I was very fortunate I had Josh to look out for me for Reading.
So going to Shrewsbury, did you feel you really developed at Shrewsbury? Because it was one of the clubs that you had a short spell at Hartlepool before, you had a loan spell at Bury, you were at Wigan, but it was really Shrewsbury where it looked like your career started to tinker along quite nicely.
Yeah, I feel, as you say, Hartlepool had a little spell, and that was like my first place I could have sort of called home at football. But it was only short. What I needed somewhere that I could just say, look, this is my club, this is home, this is where I play, everyone likes me here, this is where I'm staying, I'm settled. And Shrewsbury gave that to me, and I think, because of that, because it was a club I could call home, and it was a good club with good people around it, it was run very well. It was the club that I could sort of showcase myself the most, but also grow as a person and a player, and they allowed me to do that. The squad that they want to recruit is sort of everyone's sort of similar in what they want, so it's an easy group to get on with at all times. So it was my place where I could call home and really develop as a player and a person, and they allow me to do that. And again, it is a club that I'll forever be grateful for, and I always look at results, how they do it, and I try to keep in contact with as many players as possible from there just to see how they do it and hope that they do well.
You came through at QPR, but then left to go to Brentford. And obviously, they're quite heavy rivals. How did that move come about? Because it's quite an interesting one. Because I think at the time, QPR fans were frustrated that they were losing young players, essentially.
Yeah, it's a bit of I was in my last year at QPR, and I wasn't playing for sort of the under-21s at the time development squad, and I was told I could leave. Like I wasn't gonna get anything, and very early on, so sort of like September, October times, I was told, yeah, look, you can move on. So I had it in writing, and then as crazy as football is, after about a week later, Les Ferdinand and Chris Ramsey came in, and everything just changed. I then sort of went from you can leave to you're very liked here and we want to work with you and play. And again, I did sort of find myself. And then I just remember one day I thought that was it. Like I'm just staying here. And I thought that letter was sort of ended. And I remember Chris Ramsey come up to me and said to me one day, said, have you got a letter that says, you can leave the club? And I said, well, yeah, but I thought that was over now. Like, you guys are here. I'm happy. I thought that was over with now. I thought that's all changed. And he said, nah, you need to write back to the club to say, like, you want to stay and fight for your place, sort of thing. And then I had no idea. And that was sort of like January times. And Brentford came in and sort of showed me a lot of interest and said to me, look, you'll be involved with the first team here. You'll get first team opportunity. So obviously that's what it's all about when you're a kid. You want to play with the first team. So I had to go back to QPR and sort of say, look, listen, like, this is what's been offered to me here. I'd like to stay here, but if it's offered to me here, can you offer the same sort of thing? And no thought of Les or Chris. It just wasn't. It was above them. Obviously, the first team makes the first team manager's choice at the end of the day. So it was sort of. They told me I was very liked, but they couldn't promise me anything, which is like a lot of youngsters. There's no wrong with that at all. But it's just obviously when you have had that somewhere else, and you have got somewhere else sort of offering you that, making that promise, you've got to go with it because that's what I want to do. I wanted to play football, first team football somewhere. So I made the choice to leave, a big choice to leave, and I went through with it and did it.
Do you think it stood you in good stead? Because obviously some footballers can make a move prematurely, some stay and never get their opportunity, whereas yourself, you had your education, you went out and got first team experience in the lower leagues, and you sort of come full circle and you're back into the Championship.
Yeah, I think I couldn't tell you if I moved prematurely or not, because who knows, I could have stayed and played games on the QPR under whatever manager it was, Chris, whoever's been there. I could have. You never know. I did learn a lot. I did learn a lot, and as you say, I had to leave Brentford and go down the leagues and learn very quickly and grow up. So, in terms of what has happened in my career, I think it has helped me, because there was probably when you're a young kid, you're sort of in a bubble. And you don't know what sort of the real world of football's like yet. You think it's something, and when you come out of that, it's completely different, and it can be a shock. So I think I was sort of still in a fairy tale land and in this bubble. And I think coming out of that was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I had to grow up quick and sort of become a man very quick.
Do you think going to the likes of Hartlepool, Bury on loan, and Swindon, did that really help?
Yeah, Hartlepool was, as I say, when I going 4 or 5 hours away from home by myself, completely different culture, completely different world. It's completely different up there. Yeah, it made me grow up very quick. In the first sort of 6 months that I went there, I think I only played once or twice, and that's when it becomes a big shock to you that you're sort of fighting for a position that's not going to be given to you, and that's why I was sort of like, part of being in that bubble. Everything's sort of given to you as a kid when you're at these clubs, and when you go into the first team dressing room somewhere, it's not given to you. People are fighting for their places and fighting for their families. So it made me man up and realise things very quick, and that it helped me out a lot there. And as you say, Bury was a big learning curve. We got relegated that season, and I took a lot from that season, learning about myself, how to be in that situation, how to be around sort of a place, what character I wanted to be, how I wanted to be as a person. So I learned a lot about myself at Bury, and I'm very grateful for that experience as well. It wasn't a nice experience to go through at the time, mind you, but I did learn a lot from it.
I guess being a student myself and moving to university, it's a sort of a similar way. You've got to cook for yourself. You've got to meet new people. It's a similar experience in some strange way. But as I say, as a young player, how much, or how does it benefit you going to these clubs and gaining experience, not only as a player but also as a person?
I think it's massive. I think that any young player that hasn't sort of playing 23s football or just staying at a club, just if you've got a chance to go out, play first team football, and be in a first team dressing room, be in an environment where people are fighting for their families and know their job, I think they should go and do it, because it's the best thing for you. It's a real wake up call. And as you say, you've got to get out of that bubble. I mean, there's some good coaches as well. It's not me saying anything about these academies or these players. As I said, Les and Chris Ramsey were probably one of the best around and some of the best coaches I've ever had. It's just getting out in that environment and playing every week and playing in front of fans. Well, when they come back, playing in front of fans and, being in dressing rooms where if you make a mistake, it matters to people and it hurts people. So that, you are going to get someone who could grab you up by your neck up the wall and face, but it's part of it. And, you've got to learn quickly and get used to it. So I'd advise any youngster to go out and play first team football, no matter what level it is.
Josh, it's been wonderful to chat to you today. Before we sign off, though, what can we expect from Reading next season?
Hopefully another promotion pushing team that's hungry, young and energetic, just like we were this season, but a bit more experienced, and someone that can excite the fans again. And hopefully when we welcome the fans back in, they can get behind us and see firsthand a team that's been even better than this season.
Thanks for your time today, Josh.
Thank you, and you.